this clip, Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I'm going to mute the people that called in. I'll mute your lines, but I'll open them back up once the clip is done just to preserve the audio quality. Unless you all want to mute yourselves, we can even try it out. If you all want to mute yourselves just to make sure there's no background noise. The clip, it's about 15 minutes. Should be constructive. I always think Mr. Fuller has some good thoughts, and I really appreciated what he had to share on this one. This is Neely Fuller Jr. Again, forgive me, I was a little under the weather, so I don't sound my best on this clip, but I'm not talking too much. Neely Fuller Jr., taking it away.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure I asked you as well. Just this is something I've observed. I know in the code book you explain why victims should probably avoid marriage under white supremacy because it's just not going to get to where you want it to be under this.
Well, you can't get you simply can't get it the way it ought to be. See, most people get in that situation expecting nirvana, or they're wishing for it, and they can just stop wishing because you can pretend now. You can pretend that you got it because you can pretend anything, all right? But I'm saying there's no way to get it the way it ought to be according to the way things ought to be because the system itself is not the way it ought to be. There's no way to do things in that system to get things the way that, where you have nirvana, where you have Oz, where you have Shangri-La. It ain't going to happen. But a lot of people are able to fake it. But, faking something is faking it. And it's logical because you're not in a situation that will nurture the way things ought to be. You know what I mean? Now, you'll get some satisfactions, but that doesn't mean that it's the way it ought to be. And then that way you don't get disappointed by when things don't go the way that you think they ought to be, and then become completely unraveled, want to hurt somebody or something like that, or become self-destructive and all this stuff. See, no. Once you realize that the setup is not designed to nurture what it is that you want, it's not even designed to do that, then you just say, well, hey, it's just a make-do situation at best. And then you can settle in. You have a certain degree of contentment. But you do that with the understanding that things are not the way they ought to be and ain't going to get that way under this system. Like being in a prison cell, and so you get some new mattresses and stuff, They paint the walls and all like that, but it's still a prison cell. But you know that. But you're going to make yourself as comfortable as you possibly can. Improve the quality of the food. Get a little better entertainment, a little better, what you might call comfort of mind, not peace. But you're in that prison cell. Do the best you can under those circumstances, like a soldier on a battlefield. Not an ideal situation, but you don't expect it to be an ideal situation.
It's one of the things I've observed around that. Even people who, they've read your book or they've heard you speak and, share your thoughts on the marriage thing and why that is just not going to get where we would like it to be under these conditions. It seems like many of the conversations on counter-racism, they will come back to relationships. I've just seen that over and over again. Like even recently it came back with, I guess they have a lot of these articles now about how black females, you're not going to be able to get a husband. And I think one of the more recent ones I saw, it was something crazy where it said there's like 3 black males for every 100 black females.
Yeah, you'll be able to get a care mate. But you can have some caring for an exception. That's why I put it in the word guide. I use a lot of terms person can use, and they can make up some of their own for what you call marriage. Say, care-a-mate is an excellent one. Somebody that cares, that's a mate that cares. That's what a care-a-mate is. Somebody that kind of go out of their way to give you a ride home or something, whatever. Don't expect too much.
I don't know. It just, to me, it seems like in a lot of these discussions that I've observed, it seems like the focus has shifted from the number one motivating factor, white supremacy and getting rid of it, to number two, like just, hooking up. And I don't know, it just seems when I hear people talk, even though it'll be codified, they'll be using the terms and everything, it just seems like we are not really as focused on getting rid of dealing with these racist man and racist woman as we should be. We're spending a lot more time on hooking up with somebody and how to make all that work and everything, and it's just, I don't know, it just doesn't seem...
Well, that's why, because a lot of people are not focused on getting rid of racism because they think that they can get that nirvana under the system of racism, and it ain't going to happen. See what I mean? Unless they fake it. See, and faking it, when you're faking something. See, so, hey, that's why I say, when I start off just saying, you ain't going to get it the way it ought to be until you get rid of racism. Now, if you want it the way it ought to be, first order of business is you got to get rid of racism so you can set the environment up for it to get the way it ought to be. Otherwise, it ain't going to happen. See, now, when you give it to people like that, then that gives them some incentive to pay attention to racism. Because they think they can run and hide somewhere. But it ain't no place you can, ain't no such thing as Oz under racism or Shangri-La. Or if you're reasonably cognizant, observant, ain't no such thing as no peace of mind either. If you're paying attention to things. It's not set up to produce that. If you could have peace in the system of racism, there wouldn't be no point in getting rid of it. But racism is anti-peace, and it's dominant. See what I mean? It's not like it's something over in the corner that you can sidestep. Not like you can step off the football field and run down the sideline and make it go. No, you got to go through the line. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what some people think. Well, hey, I ain't going to get hit. So you just step out of bounds and run down the sideline, with the majorettes and whatnot, Yeah, it'd be wonderful if you could do that. But there ain't no sideline, Like running around in that Roman Coliseum. See, it ain't no exit. Guy trying to outrun that line, after he makes about 3 times around there, he suddenly realized this thing is a circle. And it ain't no exits. I got to turn around and face this line. That's the moment of truth. See, and you don't want to run around there too many times. You're going to have strength to face him. You finally get tired. That's what the line's waiting on. That's why he ain't putting too much effort in chasing you. He's already figured out it ain't no exit. I just played with him for a while. By the time he figures out there ain't no way to get out of here, try to climb over the top, keep sliding back down. See, I'll just watch him until he just finally falls down exhausted. And I'll just leisurely walk over and start gnawing on his shoe. Called cat and mouse. Mice do that. Cats do that with mice. It ain't going nowhere, So I just play with him. I run and catch him, hold his tail for a little bit, and then let him run again. You must have learned that from the white supremacists.
Mm, exactly. I feel like we black people we waste so much time and energy, hand wringing about black male and female relationships, and they're not good, and
they ain't gonna get good. They ain't supposed to get good. That's another thing. I mean, that might be the Creator sending us a message. Your relationships ain't supposed to be nothing. Till you take care of the business you're supposed to take care of first. Get your house in order, then settle down. That's what settling down means. You got to have some place to settle down in. You can't settle down in that mess. I mean, that's a boiling pot. That's a pot of fire, You ain't supposed to settle down in it. Supposed to be hopping off of that griddle, putting the fire out.
Man, I write that one down too. That makes so much sense. Just even thinking of it that way, that our relationships have or will continue to be bad as long as white supremacy exists.
And logically speaking, should. Because that's supposed to be an incentive to keep us alert that, hey, something is out of order with this whole envelope. This whole enclosure we're in. We ain't supposed to be in this enclosure. Okay? Now we're getting serious.
Man, yes, I completely agree. And that, to me,
like an old blues singer saying, hey, you my gal, and I'm going to take you home. But see, at a certain point when they're walking down the road, he suddenly realized he ain't got no home. he knows what he wants, but see, he ain't the thing that he's talking about ain't been prepared. I mean, she's all anxious and say, oh, yeah, I mean, I like you. Take me home, Take me to your home. Yeah, I'm going to take you home. Take you to my house. And the guy ain't got no house. You know what I mean? They just keep walking. At some point, that whole thing's going to fall apart. We've been walking 3 days. How far you been?
That is a message from the Creator.
Yeah, and in the system of white supremacy, we don't have a home. That's in the code book. Home is when we have eliminated the system of white supremacy. Now we got the opportunity to start building a home. We don't have a home. Some black people have said, Africa is home. No. You can talk to Africans and they'll tell you that. Meet you when you get off the boat. And, hey, man, where you from? Say, I'm from New York. Say, that's over there in America, ain't it? Say, yeah. Can I go with you? When you leave, can I go with you? I can't stand it here. I got a cousin over there somewhere. He drives a cab. I'm going to drive a cab, too. Yeah, but we shamming. So you're talking about Africa is home. And when you meet Africans, they're trying to go home, Where were you born and raised? In Timbuktu, Well, don't you like it there? Nope. Well, that's where I'm a tourist. That's where I'm on my way. Well, you can have my place. I'll take yours. See, we need to stop jiving ourselves. Stop pretending. We put on a dashika and think we've got all the solutions to everything. We're pretending. We're play acting. That's theater.
That's the most logical thing I've heard in a couple days. Like, wow. And I think that mentality, we would be so much more serious if we had that understanding. That's the way we approach relationships and really everything. As long as we're under white supremacy, like it's not in order.
Yeah, we need to stop being so sophisticated and look at everything just like a child would look at it. Because that's what we are anyway. Stop trying to pretend that we're grown-ups. Just look at everything the way that a child would look at it, because a child sees things the way that they are, until somebody starts, brainwashing them.
I could not agree more. I guess I know one person, they did say, when you say care mate and all that, and you say that, I guess you would not recommend, quote unquote, marriage under white supremacy. Are you just saying, go out, hook up for sexual intercourse?
Because even when you do it, that's not what it is. See what I mean? Why? For a very logical reason. A so-called quote unquote marriage has to have a overall support system. Like they use that cliche term, which is correct. It takes a village to raise a child, and it takes a nation to protect a village, and it takes a system to protect a nation. See, so if you don't have that multi-layered structure, you actually have nothing, including you don't have a marriage, because you can't guarantee nothing. See, yet you'll stand up and take those vows and guarantee all kinds of stuff. You can't guarantee none of that. You can't guarantee that you're going to have a place to stay that night. Why? Because the white supremacists will determine that. They'll say, well, you just said I do, right? You say, yeah, we just pledged ourselves to each other that we're going to do this and we're going to do that and whatnot. They say, well, I just moved all your stuff out in the street while you were standing up here taking them vows. That's what the white supremacists will say, Say, well, I'll just go someplace else. And they say, someplace else like where? On my planet. I bet not catch you out there under my bridge. So you just made all those guarantees, and what you did was lied. Because you can't guarantee nothing. I make the guarantees. Because I'm supreme over you and your spouse, which you don't really have, because she's mine too. Welcome to the new world. That's what counter-racist logic tells me. So functionally, whoever a person takes as a care mate and whatnot, you're just partners in agony. Completely dependent on racist man and racist woman if you're classified as non-white. That's why one shouldn't try to tell the other who's boss, because ain't neither one of them no boss. Fellow prisoners. You don't have a boss among fellow prisoners. All prisoners answer to the warden.
Context of white supremacy. Always good, in my opinion, always good to hear from Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Man, I thought that was one of the most constructive, logical, and poignant comments that I've heard from Mr. Fuller in a long time. Maybe it is a message from the Creator. Our disheveled relationships, maybe that is a message that we should get motivated, get serious, and deal with these white people. If we're really that concerned about black relationships, if black males, if we are really that concerned about black females, if they're really that concerned about black males, Maybe we should get busy, get down to it, and begin to deal with these white people seriously. Because as he said, our relationships are, have been, and will continue to be in ruin as long as the system of white supremacy exists. And also, he said,